Chapter 47. I can spare you the rest. There were quite a few conversations with various authorities. There were an awful lot of stern looks and wagging fingers and dire warnings. There was also a fair amount of apologizing and explaining and promising on the part of me and Dad, aka Rodeo, aka that freaky big-hearted hippie. We'd broken our share of laws. Well, to be fair, I'd broken my share of laws. Rodeo was actually surprisingly innocent in the whole affair, apart from kinda sorta encouraging me to do it, but even that was under duress and in code. Either way, though, the folks in charge just couldn't look the other way. I mean, it wasn't like they could just say, sure, an underage kid stole a bus and raced it down the highway and ran away from the cops, but hey, she's got kind of a sad story, so no big deal. So they looked into it. There were cops and a prosecutor and a judge, and even a counselor I had to talk to. It all took a few days, and to tell you the truth, it got a little old, but in the end, they decided that I was not a deeply troubled threat to society, and that Rodeo was, without a doubt, a certified weirdo, but not the dangerous kind, and in fact maybe kind of an okay kind, really. So neither one of us had to go to jail, and no one talked about taking me away from my dad or anything. Things worked out like they should have. Despite the badges and the titles and the regulations and all the paperwork, it was all being handled by human beings after all. And for the most part, human beings try to do the right thing, even if they can see what that is. They did make us pay for the reflector post I ran over, though. And there were goodbyes. To Val first. Her parents drove out to get her, and they took turns driving, Rodeo and Lester style, so they made it by the next night. I wasn't there for their reunion, but when I said goodbye to Val the next morning, she seemed okay. And sometimes you gotta take okay, because it's way better than terrible, and can sometimes turn into pretty darn great. She gave us her address and her phone number, and I can guarantee that keeping in touch with that girl is right near the top of my list of things to do. And then, a day later, we took a little drive back to Yakima and said goodbye to Salvador. That one was even tougher. And you know what? I don't think I'm going to get too much into describing that one. I will say that Salvador told me, I'm not going to miss you, Coyote Sunrise. And I said, I'm not going to miss you too. Right back to him, and we both laughed a little, and there was a quick hug, and yeah, it was super awkward. But awkward's not always bad. I worry about Salvador every day, but I never feel sorry for him. A promise is a promise, and I've got his phone number. We'll be talking. He is my best friend, after all. Sure, he's my only friend, but hey, best is still best, no matter the number. And I'm pretty sure that even if I had 100 friends, Salvador would still be the best one. Rodeo convinced Lester to let us buy him a bus ticket back to Tampa and the Strut Kings. When we dropped him off at the bus station, Lester gave me a good long hug and said, You're still crazy, girl. And I said, Yeah, probably. Don't go marrying any security guards. And he laughed. And that was that. We said goodbye to Gladys, too, of course. There weren't any cheers for that goodbye, but I did miss her as we drove away. She was a good goat, that Gladys. I was happy to see her back with her family. And eventually we said goodbye to Grandma. Not for a while, though. We stayed for about a week. She and I went for walks, and she roasted a chicken for dinner once. We went out for ice cream, and a couple of nights we sat together on the couch and ate popcorn and watched a movie. And boy, it was something. It was really something. But even though we didn't talk about it, I knew all that week at Grandma's that we weren't there for good. We did laundry and ate breakfast and got into a sort of routine, but I knew it wasn't a forever routine. And Dad spent the week changing the belts and oil and spark plugs and Jaeger, and you don't do that when you're getting ready to park it for good. You do that when you're getting ready to hit the road again. So one night, when Grandma was in cleaning the dinner dishes, and Rhodey and I were sitting out on the back porch watching bats flit and dart through the dim evening air, I asked him, When we leaving? And he waited just a few seconds before answering, I was thinking day after tomorrow. And I nodded to myself and looked away, off toward the shadowy shapes of those hills that had welcomed me home. But then he did something else. He said, Would that be okay, Ella? He asked me, and he called me by my name. And I just looked at him for a second, surprised by the question. I don't want to keep doing this forever. This driving around, I mean, I said. Rodeo nodded and sighed. I know. I just don't think I can stay here. And me neither, I interrupted him. His eyebrows went up in surprise. Coming back here was something I had to do, and I'm glad we did. But it's hard being here. I don't think I could walk past that torn up park every day. But I want to take them with us. Mom and Ava and Rose. I'm not leaving them behind, not ever again. We're a family again, okay? Rodeo's eyes were red and watery, but he looked them into mine and nodded. Okay. And I don't just want to leave here. I want to go somewhere, not running away. Looking for a home. A home without four wheels. That's what I want, okay? Rodeo blinked at me. Then he nodded, a deep, slow nod. Okay, he said. Okay. We'll find it. And I leaned over and grabbed my dad in a hug, and my dad hugged me back. Good, he said. Now let's go in and help your grandma with the dishes. He let me go and stood up and walked away from me toward the back door glowing warm with yellow light. One more thing, Dad. He turned to me and I said, For God's sake, will you cut off that beard now? My dad took a step back toward me and he leaned down and said into my eyes, Absolutely not. And then he smiled and I knew I was smiling back.